Hi everybody, here a little early today. I hope it is sunny where you are. It's sunny here in the Carolinas, which is so nice to see. It's so nice to be outside for at least a little bit, right? We're all kind of quarantined to our homes, doing a little self-care, so we're hoping to bring you some really fun workshops. We've brought you a bunch so far. If you haven't seen them so far, go ahead into our archives on Facebook. We're going to take the time this weekend to put them all on YouTube so that they're a little easier to find, and especially as we grow this and get more and more videos for you and your family to see. So thanks for joining us, or if you're watching later, thanks for jumping in and watching some more DIY fun. So these are all beginner projects that we've taken on so far. We have some for kids, some for different age groups. This could be either. This could be transitional. As long as your kids are good with drills, meaning you've gone over a project that did some drill skills before, you should be fine with this. Again, parental supervision absolutely required, especially if we're going to be getting a drill or a saw involved. But if these were pre-cut, you can always get anything that we do pre-cut at Lowe's or another big box retailer that is a warehouse. We are proudly supported by Lowe's. I'm wearing We Are Generation T right now. You can go to wearegenerationt.com and sign the pledge for Tracks to the Trades to get more of our high school and teenage kids involved in trade school and doing things like this and being creative. So, what are we doing today? This is one that I went ahead and did. This is the corner shelf. So I haven't put my last block in, but you could either use it like this in a kind of a pyramid fashion, or you could use it in a corner, much like intended, like that. So I will show you once we're finished, especially after I make sure that goes and gets glued on, which is our final step. And I'm going to show you the basics to this. So you don't have to zoom in on this, but basically we're going to have 3 brackets on the back. It's much the same on the bottom, same 3 on the bottom. It's kind of time consuming on the brackets. I used brace plates that are found in the lumber section of Lowe's or a warehouse store, which is backed by all of the lumber, and these are a little more extensive than what I needed, but I figured it was good drill practice for me and also getting my girls involved in drilling. So if we were to do this in our workshop, we would do this with the girls just to get them more experience getting some drill work done. But you could get away with only doing about 8. So smaller braces, smaller bracket, depends on what you find in your local store. So this was also stained. So if you know me well, you know I have never met a can of spray paint that I don't like. I love spray paint. However, this was stained, so I used Minwax Deep Espresso, and I really fell in love. I have chosen not to polyurethane this. You can always add a coat of varnish depending on what you're putting on it. Me, I'm a big succulent fan, so we're doing a succulent project coming up in 2 days. Join us there on Saturday morning. But you know, this is a good small shelf for me. Not a lot of load-bearing weight that we want to put on this, so something small. And I don't need varnish for that. But if I was putting something a little more that I wanted to protect and not get any of the stained piece off of it, then I would probably varnish this. Or it's also a look thing. If you want it to be shiny, put some varnish on there. So without further ado, let's get started. So what did I use? I'm going to cut a few of these blocks on our miter saw for you. Again, you can get these pre-cut sections. So on Facebook, on the website, we have the actual supply list, but it was 17.5 for our base. And this is just scrap wood that I had donated to us from an old shop teacher, or retired shop teacher, who was super generous with his extra wood. So just fence post wood, basically, big square post. You can use a lot of different kinds of wood for this. Again, as long as you have it cut and it is a square piece, you should be fine. So this is a 17.5 inch section, and then I have 2 that are at 10.5 inch sections. So 1 here and 1 here, and then I have 3 small blocks that are 3.5 inches. So again, those supply lists are on the Facebook page if you need to reference, but you can see dimensionally it works really well. So first and foremost, you're going to cut, or you will have them pre-cut for you. So I'm going to go ahead and cut today. I need to apologize in advance because in terms of personal protective gear, or PPE is what we call it, personal protective equipment in the field, I do not have ear protection, and you want to have ear protection when you are working on a saw. It gets pretty ear-splitting loud. So I will get a DM comment from someone on that. So I just want to go ahead and caveat that it's hard for me to talk to you as well as have my ear protection in. So you always want to have goggles. I don't have my belts on today just because I'm moving around a lot and I've got everything out on my my actual work surfaces. I could also have gloves on. I'm choosing not to because I'm going to go straight down to the ground. So something I didn't talk about, if you do have a saw or it is one of your goals to have one, this was a Christmas present style, I really want one of these someday, a little while back, and I have one now and it's exciting. So I use Craftsman tools, huge fan, also in the Lowe's family of products, so I am a big believer in Lowe's products. And this is, when you are doing your sawing, you're always going to come out first if you need to go back in. You're not going to saw in this direction towards me. So that's what I'm going to do, is saw cut my first few sections. So I went ahead and I marked with my pencil. I've already done this so that we don't have to worry about it here while we're working. And P.S. you might see our shop kitty, Jade, walking around. She likes to be outside with us. So I marked my 3.5 inch section, another 3.5, and my last block is a 10. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these. Our shop kitty, she decided to leave the building, scared her enough. Make sure for sure, if you do have a saw, that you are definitely keeping those clamped down. This creates a whole heck of a lot of dust, and I really should have my gloves on since I haven't sanded this down yet. Pretty easy stuff to do. I love the smell of sawdust. I'm a weirdo. I don't know, I think that's a meme going around right now. Pick 2 things that you would smell, and that's me, is sawdust. Go for it. So, call me a weirdo. All right, I'm going to cut this section, then we're going to go down, sand, and start bracing. It's as easy as that. So, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off just because I'm working right under the saw. Especially ladies love this for a Christmas present. You can ask my family. I come out here a lot these days, so welcome to my shop, right? So I'll have a little cleanup work to do with some sawdust. That's why having your goggles or your glasses on are really, really important for this kind of work. Now you can see, again, I have 2 of those 10.5 inch blocks. I don't have 2 of those prepped for me, so I'm only going to show you with a couple of these blocks right now. I'm going to keep these natural. So this is the varnish, or excuse me, stain that I used, which was just this espresso wood finish. This is $5 for a small can, and it'll last me a long time. I like to use these kind of brushes. It's personal preference. Some people actually use actual paint brushes. Others use rags. It's your own personal preference. I like these because I can rag it down right afterwards. You only normally, the darker the finish, you usually only need 1 stain coat. It's up to you how dark you want to go if you are going to stain. So again, today I'm going to leave these natural. What you want to make sure you do, I'm just taking, this is medium, I want to say it's like 80 on my sandpaper. I've already kind of pre-done these couple of sections. But just make sure you don't have any super rough edges like you can see here. And you can see just how raw this wood is. Pro tip, I was actually staining on this and drilling last night, so I could easily sand all of that out, by the way. So I love a good piece of sandpaper. Never met a piece of sandpaper that I don't like either, because you can sand out just about any imperfection ever. So again, you're going to want to take off all these little funky edges. Make sure if you're turning a corner, you catch all those corners. A couple of mine splintered on the saw, so I like the imperfections. Again, this isn't supposed to be a perfect piece. It's not like we're getting judged on this somewhere, so I might as well sand this because I'm here. And you can see that my saw missed a spot here, so you can just cut that right off with your finger. And then sand away. Easy stuff to sand. And you can see I've got a serious imperfection here. Not really sure what happened to that, but when they originally cut the wood, it split a bit, but I think that's got some character to it. So this one I already sanded last night. And after you sand, you always want to kind of take a rag to it just to get that dust, that really fine granular dust off before you start drilling or nailing or definitely painting. So your next step would be, if you were going to paint or you are going to stain, you would go ahead and do that next and then do your drilling and bracing together, just because these are pretty big brackets, and to work around that, I mean, spray paint's not going to be a big deal, and these aren't visible once you hang it on the wall. So it's just one of those preferences of, do you really mess with spray painting or definitely not staining a bracket. So what I am going to do, I'll lay it out for you. It's super easy. You want to keep the wood grains together, even if you're spray painting. That's going to definitely come out. You'll be able to see that grain print, so unless you just really don't mind, I don't know, maybe you get artsy with it. I liked it the same. I'm doing this by eyeballing. What I did last night, you definitely want to just get a good idea with your tape measure. Where's my brain? It's the afternoon. Get an idea with your tape measure exactly how far you want to go, just because when you flip it to the other side, you want to be equidistant on your 3 different pieces. So you can see here I'm not lining up perfectly either, because this wood is different post. So they didn't originate from the same post necessarily. So I'm just going to try to find out what's my best edge to take. Not super worried about it. And then eventually, we won't show you today just for time, but on both sides. So this side, this is all on bracing. So what you're going to do is you've got your drill and you've got your driver. We've been through this before. Drill is actually for pre-drilling or just making a hole in general. Driver is typically putting in a screw, a bolt, etc. So that's to come follow up from your drilling. So I'm going to go ahead, make sure, when we go over this with girls, we make sure that they test this out, they get used to the weight of a drill, and they understand what forward versus reverse. So lefty-loosey is turning it out. Righty-tighty, put it all the way in terms of getting a hole selected and drilled. So I'm just going to show you one. I'm going to take these off because they're just going to float away on me. I like to take a couple of these holes and not just do them all at once. I'm going to do 2 that just braces me in, just because, so these don't move around. I don't need this block right now. Just so it gives me a good anchor, since I have so many of these holes in here to get done, ultimately. So pretty simple stuff. I'll do one more. We do a lot of, when we deal with our Builder Girls Club, which is the middle school girls we work with, speed on a drill, and this is a magnetic piece, so you can see all my little shavings there on the end, or you can't, but I can. And speed is important. You know, a lot of times our girls especially like to just go straight in and just high speed, so that is going to strip a bit really easily. So you definitely want to use this, and that's why I like how many holes are here. Again, if I was in our workshop and working with Builder Girls Club, I love this many. I think it's 12 all in. Yeah, it's 12 drill holes that they would have to be making. It's a good idea to just get them used to not only holding a drill, but then also get their confidence up in making these driver. So getting used to the drill, and then also getting used to driver speed. Drill speed, less important. Driver speed, very important. So starting slowly and staying nice and even, no stripping any bits. So we would practice a lot on these. That's why I like projects like this too. So this is really good for our moms and daughters, dads and daughters to do a project like this, because it's not a lot of work. It's a lot of drill skills, and it's a lot of putting things together and being creative and painting in a color you want. But you can get a small win here, and I love small wins. So that would be my second bracing here. I could show you, that would be mega boring on Facebook Live, but you get the drill, pardon the pun, is to make that into your brace there. I'm just gonna block this out for you. If I was to finish this up, I would take this other piece, so I don't have another one of these with me. I would put that there, this block, and right here. So I'm gonna go back up and show you our final step. So you're just doing the bottom plates. And I flip it and use more wood to sit this piece on when we're trying to do that bracing, which is a right angle. So play with it. It's not hard. I like to be on a nice long flat space. That's why I'm off of my work surface here. I'm midstream on this makeshift workshop, so coming soon in the next week, we'll have a nice big workbench there in the back that we can work for things like this, meaning drilling, hammering, nailing on a nice solid surface. But the floor works too. In a garage, put down a piece of plywood like I have OSB just laying down, put something protective to the bottom of the floor and you'll be fine. That's a little bit of drill skills and driver skills. And I'll put this together. You can see it on Facebook later. I'm going to keep that one natural and see what we can play with. So this is just the last step. Now that you've done, so now you can get an idea. This is what I was talking about. You've got 3 braces on the bottom, 3 braces on the back. So all in, this took me last night, I don't know, maybe 25 minutes. Once you get really the rhythm of it. The only thing that I would suggest that I did not do, I was able this morning to put a little wood glue in between these 2 pieces. These last 2, you can see it's still drying because I just put it in there about an hour ago. I want to make sure that I brace that up just because I'm being kind of a perfectionist here. If I'm going to hang this on my wall, especially like this, which looks super cool, you know, I just don't want any spacing there on mine. You could hang it just like this and be fine. Those braces are not going anywhere, especially if you use the ones that I did, which are, they're Mytech NP15, so these are definitely stud braces, so high-tech stuff, meaning they're 68 cents a piece. 8 of them is not going to set you back, but again, I was using it more for instructional use than anything else. So that's the last step, is to put this block in. Again, I had pre-stained it before I did my drilling, and 2 choices. So if I had a lot more time with you all, I would just straight wood glue this, but since I do want to show you all finished in, I do have, this is an industrial high temp glue gun. So these are available at Lowe's. These are Arrow glue guns that we use in the shop. So when we want something to stay for real. This is not a craft glue gun. This is a for realsies. These are about $19 at Lowe's. And again, used by tradesmen, tradeswomen in the field for various projects. Making sure that I have it, ooh, right, like that. So I'm gonna use that as my back piece. This will easily just dry and come up, so no problems. I'm just gonna put that on the back of mine because I'm gonna come back later. You can see the heat coming off. These are super hot. Make that connection there. It's not super perfect, but I'm not worried about that either. And all these little fuzzies, right, that you get from a glue gun will come back off. I'm not worried about that part. But like I said, I like to use a high temp glue gun for something like this, especially a wood block. And again, look at that, my fuzzies came right off, so no bigs. Happens all the time. I rarely freak out about this stuff. Welcome to the shop, right? So making sure, since I only put it on one side, I have a good connection there. Look at that, there you have it. Clearly not on a wall right now, but that's our shelf. So super easy. I think all in, you know, again, if you have this pre-cut lumber, half an hour or less project, really simple. And all in, even if you were to buy this lumber at Lowe's, I think this is a $10 project or less, minus the saw or any of these drills. So yeah, easy stuff. And look for wood that's around your environment. I always say that, adaptive reuse. Huge fan of using things that are in the already built environment. So if you have scrap lumber, or if you can find scrap lumber in your neighborhood, you have construction going on, you can always ask a superintendent if they have extra lumber that you can borrow and not bring back. You just make beautiful projects out of them. But you always have the option to go to Lowe's and have this pre-cut. So knowing that we're in the environment that we are, where we're being a little more selective about where we're going and we're quarantining, I love the idea of being able to go out into the environment and possibly find the same thing. So if you have any questions, feel free to always DM me, direct message. I can't wait to see some of your projects and maybe different colors that you use. You could make this bigger. We could make a huge shelf. I don't know if I would, I think I would probably push that against the back of a coffee table as a back end table rather than I would hang it on the wall, because this is pretty heavy. If you use the wood that I did, I think all in, this is a good 8 pounds or so. So I'd be careful making it too much bigger and trying to hang it on your wall. However, fun, easy project. So get to work. You got this. And go to wearegenerationT.com and sign the pledge. So have fun, enjoy, be safe out there.